Passing down Broadway, the name of Anthony Street struck me, and I had a sudden desire to see that sink of iniquity and filth, the 5 Points. Following Anthony Street down, I came upon the neighborhood. It was about 10:30, and the night was cloudy. The buildings were ruinous for the most part, as well as I could judge, in the streets and sidewalks muddy and ill-lighted. Several of the houses had wooden shutters well closed, and in almost each such case I found by stopping and listening that there were many voices in the rooms and sometimes the sound of music and dancing. On the opposite side of the way, I saw a door open suddenly, and a woman thrust into the street with great resistance and most foul language on her part. She seemed to be very drunk and threatened the life of one woman who was in the house, calling upon them to turn her out too and saying, "I'll watch for you." Her oaths were dreadful, and her drunken screeches and curses were so loud that they could be heard several squares off. As I passed on, I still heard them behind me. Next, there passed me a man holding up under his arm a woman who was so drunk that she could not walk alone and was muttering senseless words to herself. Men and women were passing on each side of the street, sometimes in numbers together, and once or twice a company of half a dozen mere girls ran rapidly, laughed and talking loud, from one house into another. These I gradually found were dancing houses, grog shops, oyster cellars, and clothes. Obscure and suspicious-looking places of every description abounded. The night was not cold, and some women were sitting in the doorways or standing on the sidewalks. From them I received many invitations to walk in and see them, just to sit down a minute, followed usually by laughter and jeers when they saw me pass on without noticing them. At one door, removed from sight and in an obscure place where no one seemed in sight, 2 women were sitting, one apparently old, probably the mother of the house, and the other rather young, as well as I could judge from her voice and face. They invited me to walk in and just say a word to them. I had a strong inclination to see the interior of such a house as they must live in, and finding that the room was lighted and seeing no men there and no signs of noise or company, I stopped in almost before I knew what I was doing. The room had but little furniture, a sanded floor, 1 lamp, and a small bar on which were a few glasses, a decanter, and behind the bar were 2 half-barrels. The old woman did not speak, but kept her seat in the doorway. The younger one, after letting me look round a moment, asked me in a whisper and a very insinuating air, putting on as winning a smile as she could raise, and with the affectation of a simple childish way, to just step into the bedroom. It was only the next room. Here I had a strong desire to see the whole of the establishment, yet some fear of treachery or foul play. I had more than $50 in my pocket, a gold watch, gold pencil case, gold double eyeglass, and other things of value, and being well dressed, I might be looked upon as an object for plunder. I had, too, no weapon, not even a cane. When adventure is uppermost, however, we seldom weigh chances. The house, I perceived, was very small. It being comparatively early, people passing in the street, I had little fear, and went in. The bedroom was very small, being a mere closet, with 1 bed and 1 chair in it, the door through which we came, and a window. There was no light in it, but it was dimly lighted by a single pane of glass over the door through which the light came from the adjoining room in which we had been. The bedstead was a wretched truck, and the bed was of straw, judging from the sound it made when the woman sat upon it. Taking for granted that I wished to use her for the purposes of her calling, she asked me how much I would give. I said, "What do you ask?" She hesitated a moment, and then answered hesitatingly, and evidently ready to lower her price if necessary, $50. I was astonished at the mere pittance for which she would sell her wretched, worn-out, prostituted body. I can hardly tell the disgust and pity I felt. I told her at once that I had no object but curiosity in coming into the house, yet gave her the money from fear, lest getting nothing, she might make a difficulty or try to have me plundered. She took the money and thanked me, but expressed no surprise at my curiosity or strangeness. Perhaps they are used to having the visits of persons like myself from abroad, and who wish to see the insides of such places. As I retrod the ground, very nearly the same scenes presented themselves, and I observed that there were a great many girls of from 8 or 10 to 12 or 14 years of age in the street and going in and out of the houses. The greater part of the women in this course of life are victims of seduction from other places and from respectable situations in life, who come or are enticed by cunning to the city. Yet it seems there are some who are bred up to vice from out of its midst. From these dark, filthy, violent, and degraded regions, I passed into Broadway, where were lighted carriages with footmen, numerous well-dressed passers-by, cheerful light coming from behind curtain parlor windows, where were happy, affectionate, and virtuous people connected by the ties of blood and friendship, and enjoying the charities and honors of life. What mighty differences, what awful separations, wide as that of the great gulf and lasting for eternity, do what seem to be the merest chances place between human beings of the same flesh and blood.